It's 5 o'clock. At this time, I will call the pre-council meeting of the Perry City Council for Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026. I'm not ready, that's for sure. Yeah, it is. Item 1 is calling to order. We do have a quorum this evening. And item 3 on our agenda are citizens with input. Are there any citizens here this evening that would like to address mayor and council at this time? Thank you. Item 4 is items for review and discussion. 4A is a discussion of our April the 7th, 2026 council meeting agenda. Council members, I'll call your attention to that agenda at this time. Items 1, 2, and 3 are standard items. Is there anyone that would like to do the invocation? Okay. And Dr. Albritton will do the pledge. Thank you. Item 4 will be citizens with input. Item 5 are recognitions and presentations. Item 5A is the Perry University Class of 26 graduation. Excuse me, Ms. Clark.
Yes, sir. We have just completed our class of 2026 for Perry University, and tonight they are graduating in front of council. There's several of them that will be here, not all of them. We had 25 participants this year. And Mayor, when we come to that item, if you'll just come to the front so they can get your picture with you, please.
Thank you. We'll look forward to that. Item 5B is a proclamation recognizing the month of April as Safe Digging Month, and I'll make that presentation to Mr. Chad McMurray this evening. Glad to have you here. Thank you, sir. Item 6 are public hearings. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide any interested parties with an opportunity to express their views and concerns in accordance with OCGA Section 36-66-4. Item 6A is a rezoning request. It's RZNE 0225-2025. The applicant is Paul Schofield, requesting a rezoning of property from R-2 single-family residential to RM1 multifamily residential. The property is located on Frank Satterfield Road. Ms. Carson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir. As stated, this is a rezoning request for 0 Frank Satterfield Road. Mr. Schofield has owned the property since 2024. He's requesting to rezone to RM1 multifamily residential from R2 single family residential. Currently, the lot is vacant. It appears that it has been vacant since it was platted in 1973. This lot is situated near, I believe this is our water treatment plant? Wastewater plant. I always get the two confused. Apologies. It's near the wastewater plant, and there was another landmark I had in mind. Please forgive me. The Planning Commission did recommend approval with the following condition: that the applicant agrees to abide by all floodplain regulations and requirements.
Okay. There was some discussion relative to a floodplain study there, and he's aware of that?
Yes, he is. He's been in communication with the chief building official.
Okay. Questions, council? Yes, sir.
I was just going to, I noticed in the, I guess it was the minutes, they had said that they would be, am I close enough, by the way? Is that about right? They would say that they were willing to comply with any flood regulations that would be of demand, I guess. So that was good to know that.
Right, yes, sir. And all of that will be reviewed once they actually submit anything for permitting. So Kevin will be sure to verify that their elevations are correct, that the residences are properly built to stay free of that area.
Dr. Faust?
So we had some discussion about a floodplain study. I'm probably not saying that correctly. When Mr. Gore was here, I think at our last meeting. And so would that study be completed so that we have the full picture before he starts to submit his plans, so he would know exactly what he would need to do in relation to our new information? Or, I don't know, I remember that timeline for that floodplain study was kind of lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, how fast is he moving trying to get this approved? And I guess which floodplain regulations will he go by? The ones that are currently in place, or the ones from the new information we get from the study that we talked about last month?
So I think Mr. Gore would be better suited to answer the timeline questions. I wasn't privy to that information just yet. I can get it for you and email it to you tomorrow, if that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
But whatever is in place at the time that he submits is what he will be judged by, with the understanding that Kevin Gore is leading that study. So if there is any information that he can share with the builder, I'm sure he will, in an effort to make sure that once the structures are built, they will still be in compliance with the current regulations. You're welcome.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
It's really loud. The delivery of the study that you all are referencing, that you approved moving forward with at a recent meeting. That broke it. Talking too loud. The study that you all are discussing here, that you all approved moving forward with, that had the grant match and the city would contribute $10,000 to that. Mm-hmm. It is my understanding, and Mr. Duffy may have some clarification on this, that after you all took action on that, deciding to move forward with that it was indicated to us at the city that that pot of money may actually not be available to us. So from where I'm sitting, I would not count on that study actually being completed and delivered to the city.
That is also my understanding, Mr. Smith. However, just today, I don't know why this always happens right before our meetings, but we did become aware, specifically Mr. Gore became aware that FEMA may be eligible for some BRIC funding, BRIC. That's a Biden-era program that encompassed some potential flood mapping services. And he has been in contact with our FEMA reps this afternoon to see if we might be able to utilize that to the same end.
Now, this application, though, is just talking about the land use and whether or not that is something that we would like to see in that area.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Looking at the minutes, it seems like there was some discussion. Minutes of the Planning Commission meeting.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Guidry had voiced concern with the extent of the floodplain. And help me out, Mr. Smith, if I'm hearing all the comments correctly, and Mr. Duffy and Ms. Carson. This floodplain study, and I may not be wording it correctly, we're not going to have the funding to help do this, and so it sounds to me like this might need to be tabled until we can get some more information about the floodplain, the FEMA information. Am I saying that right, Mr. Smith? We all don't. None of us want a flooding issue, another one in the city of Perry. So it looks like there's something being built on Tucker Road, the hills of Brendale. Mm-hmm. That may also affect that low spot down there on Frank Satterfield. That may increase the floodplain area. I understand the FFE finished floor elevation is 36 inches, but still, I want to make sure that we get this right before we approve anything that might be built in a floodplain or potential flood area. So, am I saying that right, Mr. Smith? If I'm not, let me know.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I understand the concerns as it relates to the floodplain issue. I think there is a level of uncertainty as it relates to that particular stormwater basin and the impacts of previous and future developments in that area. As Ms. Carson alluded to, the question before you with this is generally removed from that issue. You know, it's more of a just land use in general sort of question, though I understand, you know, in your minds it's kind of intertwined to a certain extent. As it relates to tabling, you know, as going through the process and stuff, I'd have to defer to Mr. Duffy on that one, because there are timelines associated with this sort of thing.
Yes, sir. I would encourage council to view this decision as independent from the site review process. I know Mr. Gore and Mr. Schofield have been in ongoing discussions once the city brought this to the surface as an area of, I wouldn't say an area of concern, but an area that we'd like to learn more about. My understanding, talking with Mr. Gore, is that an agreed upon elevation could be achieved. If you'll think of coastal communities, it is not illegal to build something in a floodplain so long as it is designed appropriately for that context. Mr. Gore believes if extra precautions are put into place, even in advance of future data becoming available, issues down the road could be prevented.
And Mr. Schofield will also be required to submit surveying, clearly outlining this on his site plan. So it's not something that we're overlooking. I just wanted to highlight that this current application is specific to the land use versus the floodplain. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring up the point where he said he was willing to comply with whatever regulations were demanded of that property.
Right.
And I think that's our real obligation, because there's 100-year, I don't know, this is a 100-year floodplain or a 500-year or something like that. There's always that risk, but that's where a property owner and a builder has to assume some risk in saying, and we just have to make him aware of the risk, it seems, and the buyers of properties or the renters of properties, that this is what they're getting into, and they've been made known about that. So I think it's important. It was important to me to read that he was willing to comply, and I assume everyone would know that getting into that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Item 6B is a special exception request. It's SUSE 0007 2026. The applicant is Leonard H. Samples, requesting a special exception to allow a short-term rental. The property is located at 1306 Keith Drive. Ms. Carson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir. As stated, this is a special exception request to allow a short-term residential rental at 1306 Keith Drive. This property is located near the corner of Coventry Circle and Keith Drive. This is one of the properties that we were able to identify using our short-term rental monitoring system. And I've been able to work with the owner to get him routed through the approval process with no complaints. He was glad to comply. He just wasn't aware that there was a permit required. I will read the full report. During the council meeting, there was no feedback from surrounding residents. The same holds true for the previous application. There was no feedback for surrounding residents. For this application, Planning Commission did recommend approval as submitted.
We had a previous request at this location, did we not?
No, sir. It was a little bit further up
Okay.
up the street, and they withdrew
Okay.
and haven't come back. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions or concerns? Thank you. Item 6C is a special exception request, SUSE 0013 2026. The applicant is James R. McGee, requesting a special exception to allow short-term rental. The property is located at 303 Martin Luther King Drive. Ms.
Thank you,
Carson?
Mayor. Thank you, sir. As stated, this is another short-term residential rental request. This property was also identified through our monitoring system, and the owner was happy to comply and go through the approval process. This property is part of the Bloodworth, Beckham, and Nunn subdivision, was platted in 1925. The property owner has owned it for the last few years. It was inspected per our requirements and passed, and there was no feedback from surrounding residents during the Planning Commission hearing, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval as submitted.
Okay. Questions, council?
Not a question, just a comment, Mayor, and that's a very nice looking house. I mean, they've done some repairs. I've driven by it several times, and it looks really nice. So I commend the owner or whoever that made the improvements. It's a very beautiful home.
Yes, sir. And the previous application was also renovated for this purpose. Both of them, I believe, were vacant when they took ownership of them, and they have renovated them and now brought them back into an active status.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 7 is a review of the minutes. We'll go through that, council members. Just a reminder, Dr. Albritton was absent for the March 17th pre-council meeting. Item 8 is unfinished business. 8A is the Purdue Domestic Wastewater Service request. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, as you are aware, the city has been in negotiations with Purdue to receive their domestic wastewater flow from their plant on Highway 247 spur. This item came to you all at a recent meeting, I believe back in February, with some general parameters about what you might be amenable to insofar as a wastewater service agreement goes. You all recall that as a part of that, there was a requirement for Purdue to pay $1,071,668 as a connection charge. And initially, they were looking at the possibility of paying that connection charge over a period of 4 years. After we got back with them, letting them know that you all were agreeable to that, they came back with a request to actually spread that cost over 5 years. And you have that letter in your e-scribe, and you can see that would you all be agreeable to that, the city would be paid that total connection fee over 5 years at $214,333.60 per year. From a administration standpoint and checking with Mr. Worthington and stuff, that we'd have no qualms about this. This is a significant connection charge to be paid into our system, and it would result generally in a solid customer right off the bat, kicking off that new plan and everything. So we would recommend going forward with the 5 years as requested.
Just Dr. Faust.
So I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that whatever contract is drawn up around surrounding this agreement, there would be a, we're not negotiating further from this. Like, if, let's say 2 years from now, they're like, oh, can we extend it 2 more years or whatnot? Like, this is our, like, as low as we plan to drop on this, right?
As much as I'd like to provide legal advice, Ms. Faust, I would defer.
Yeah.
I would
Sorry.
defer to the city attorney, but no, I would
Maybe.
think that this would basically be the agreement moving forward. And if you all are okay with it, they would be able to put together an agreement to get back to you all for approval.
And then would we also have something in there, say, should midway through their contract they decide to pull out from this, there would be something where the connection charge would still be due, or how does that work?
So we can incorporate a clawback provision, but at that point, if they're receiving sewer services, it would be a much larger issue for them to try and pull out from receiving the service rather than to pay the connection, continue to pay off the connection fee. And once you have one final agreement that's in place that says this is 5 years, this is it, yes, they can always ask, but an amendment is not going to be effective unless it's in writing and signed by both parties.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just a clarification, Mr. Smith, is not only will we receive the connection fee, we will be charging them processing fee on everything that they bring into that plant as cash flow to the city.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Good, okay. Other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Smith. Item 9 are unfinished business. We'll go through each one of those. Item 10 is new business 10A, or matters referred from the April the 6th, 2026 work session, and anything that we refer from this pre-council meeting. Currently, I have 3 items that were carried forward from last night's work session. Item 10A1 is Commodore Manor expansion proposal and requests for support via Infill Housing Incorporated. Mr. Duffy?
Yes, sir. Just to follow up on yesterday's work session presentation, I felt that it was a great discussion, and y'all asked fantastic questions of Macon Infill Housing Group. I did contact the Mr. Nash, the requester, this afternoon, and he did ask me to reiterate that their concept is flexible within any parameters that council may entertain. And specifically, he did want to mention that the rendering showing buildings directly next to Macon Road and the entrance area was not representative of what their more formalized concept is at this point. Excuse me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And again, we reiterate that this is just a request for a letter to go in for their LIHTC application for their 9%.
Yes, sir. Absolutely no guarantee that Department of Community Affairs will grant them that, but it's one item in their application that makes it more competitive.
Yes, okay. Thank you. 10A2 is request from the University of Georgia Extension Service to close Elko Road on May the 9th, 2026. Major Dykes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, on May the 9th, 2026, the University of Georgia Extension, known as the 4-H, is having the statewide trap match at the Georgia National Fairgrounds. We're currently asking for that section of at Lime Rock and Elko Road be closed that day. They have extended that they would pay for the law enforcement that it would take to do that in full, and we're asking you to support it if you would.
Questions or concerns, council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 10A3 is Heritage Oak Park rental agreement. Mr. Shoemate, anything additional?
No additional.
Okay. And it was just, you presented what the new
What the new agreement
proposal
changes
was
were.
last night.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're just looking for approval of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Questions, council? Yes, sir.
The cost for the police officers was, did I hear that right, $100 per hour?
No, sir, that is the public work staff. That's for all of our public work staff. So, for example, in Tier 1, you'll have 2 public work staff. That'd be just $100 an hour for both of them to be there.
For
And,
$50 a piece, or?
yes, sir. That's
Okay.
all the cleanup and everything, an hour before and 2 hours after the event.
And was there a dollar amount for the police officers?
No, sir, there was not. That would be determined based off the scheduling with the officers at the time.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, just to clarify, because I'm not sure that maybe I understood with the rental agreement. My understanding from speaking with administration was that the rental fee would just be $100 per hour of you reserving the park. So if you had an event that started at 8 a.m. to 12, then that would be 4 hours, and you would pay $100, which is just the rental fee. But depending on the tier of your event, 1, 2, or 3, the additional cost of the required public works employees plus police, and if you were having a food vendor, the cost of the roll-off, as well as, I guess, the porta potties, all of that together would be calculated based on the size of the event, and then that would be incorporated into the total cost of that rental. Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
We went and we gathered data for similarly situated facilities, so municipal-owned amphitheaters, essentially, across Georgia, and looked at what the average rental rate was for those types of facilities. And you had on the low end $40 or $50 an hour, on the high end $200 or so. So we actually arrived at $100 per hour as our base rental rate. And then we also looked at the deposits required for these types of facilities, and $500 deposit, just all-inclusive deposit, was generally competitive for the market. So that's where those rates came from, and as Ms. Newby outlined, the additional cost would be negotiated at the time the event was put together.
Okay. Thank you. 10B would be this, your action on special exception application 007-2026. 10C will be your action on special exception application 0013-2026. Item 10D would be the first ordinance for the first reading and introduction. This is the first reading of an ordinance to rezone property from R-2 single-family residential to RM1 multifamily residential. Again, this property is located on Frank Satterfield Road. No action would be required. 10E are resolutions for consideration and adoption. 10E1 is a resolution accepting ownership and maintenance of right-of-ways and certain infrastructure at Tiffany South 1 Phase 1, formerly Avalon Landing subdivision. Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, sir. Yes, so this is a resolution to accept the latestly installed infrastructure at the Tiffany South 1 Phase 1 subdivision, which originally got started with us under the name Avion Landing. One minor point that makes this a little bit more unique than our average acceptance resolution that we tend to bring forward is that this one actually does include the Tiffany South 1 stormwater pond. So if you all recall, the city does have a higher than average standard for what meets the standard for what we would allow to be accepted by the city. So it's got a steeper incline along the rim, and does have a black chain link fence as a protective measure as well. So the pond and related infrastructure to that, as well as streets and right-of-way portions of Obsidian Drive, Champaign Drive, Tanis Trail, Gurr Road, and Kings Chapel Road entrance areas are proposed for acceptance.
Okay. Questions, council? Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Item 10F is approval of replacement of the air conditioning units in the administration building. Mr. Worthington?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, in the last month, we've actually had 2 of the barred or wall units on the administration building at 1211 Washington Street actually go out. The 2 units that have gone out are 25 and 37 years old each, so it is not recommended to replace or repair them. Actually, the older one, the 37-year-old one, is unrepairable. They do not make the replacement parts anymore that we would need, so we have to replace that one, and then repairing the other one's untenable because the cost of repair is almost as much as just replacing it, and the useful life of a barred unit is approximately 12 to 15 years anyway, so they've both far exceeded that. Given that we are approaching the summer season, staff is essentially what we're requesting tonight is to forego the bidding process, and in lieu of that, we've actually already received 3 quotes to replace those units. The lowest of which was $25,780 for both of them, and that was Reese Heating and Air LLC. Staff is requesting that you all award that this quote to Reese Heating and Air with funding coming from the general fund, specifically that budgeted reserve line item that we established previously and the FY26 amended budget.
Questions, council? You're right, summer is coming. Thank you. 10G is appointment of interim Public Works Director. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council, as you are aware, we are currently without a Public Works Superintendent. In the interim, it is administration's recommendation that we appoint Mr. Dwayne Shoemate as the interim Public Works Superintendent. He's currently the Assistant Public Works Superintendent. He's very well situated to take on that role, and he is generally agreeable to doing so for a period of time while we search for a permanent person to fill that position.
Other questions, comments? Thank you. Item 10H is the update on the Public Works Director search and recruitment services with Sumter Local Government Consulting.
Thank you, Mayor. H probably should have come before G. Again, going back on the Public Works Director search, the city went through our standard process of filling these types of roles. We put together a very nice recruitment package, put that out for 30 days, received applications. The city received 13 applications. Some of those applicants met the minimum requirements, some of them did not. The applications that did meet the minimum requirements were provided to the committee that the mayor puts together with a couple of elected officials and staff to go through these sorts of things per our standard process with department heads. This group met on March 24th, had a very good meeting, went through all the applications, and ultimately decided to not move forward with any of the applications that the city received. So you can understand the kind of situation that puts us in. Given that the city was unable to fill the position utilizing our standard process, it is recommended that we move forward with a formal recruitment process utilizing a recruiter or headhunter, as they sometimes call them, to work with us in permanently filling that position. In your e-scribe this evening, you have a proposal from Sumter Local Government Consulting. This is a group that works all over the Southeast. They have done recruitments of various types, mostly management level recruitments for municipalities and counties. Apparently very well regarded. You can see that they would take us through a very formal process, though a process I don't think you're unfamiliar with, kind of follows the standard type of recruitment deal. You can see the scope of services that would be provided. The key part here, and probably where we were missing out with our internal recruitment process, is item 3. You're basically with a recruiter paying for their extensive network and contacts and things like that. They're very well positioned to understand who the city might be able to look towards in filling these types of positions, who's looking to possibly make a change, that sort of thing. So they'd be able to work with us on that. Generally, it would be about a 90-day process, and you can see that there is a flat fee associated with this for $18,000. One of the best parts of it, I believe, and this is, I think, generally common, there is a 1-year guarantee on the service. So if Sumter were to work with us in filling the vacant position and it didn't work out, either the city said, no, we don't actually like this person, or the other person were to leave and do something else, they would come in and perform the same process for us for free. So that's quite nice, I think. Given that, administration is recommending we do move forward with Sumter Local Government Consulting for the recruitment of our Public Works Superintendent position, and the cost for that would be $18,000.
Questions, council? Very good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Items 11 through 17 are standard items. We will not require an executive session this evening. Is that correct, Ms. Newby? Okay, so we will not be planning on that. So, is there any questions or concerns about the agenda we have just gone through? Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, sir, just to make sure I'm clear on the rezoning on Frank Satterfield Road. This is simply a request for rezoning from R2 to RM1.
Correct.
Okay, the other discussions that we had is important. They are important, but this is not what we're.
It's not relative to the.
Not relative to the agenda tonight.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call you back, our attention back to the pre-council agenda. Item 5 is council member items. Dr. Fowles? Mr. Jones? Dr. Albritton? Mr. Moody?
No, sir.
Mr. Peterson? Reverend King? Okay. Mr. Smith, do you have anything for us in this pre-council?
No, sir.
Mr. Worthington, anything?
Nothing further, sir.
Ms. Newby? Okay, thank you. Is there anything else that needs to come before us before we adjourn this meeting? Hearing nothing at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our pre-council meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We do stand adjourned until 6 o'clock.